Hello and welcome to the Retro Game Time Machine podcast. At the time of recording, it is August 30th, 2020. I am Mash the Newton, and joining me through a series of tubes is Andy the Android.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm good. I'm hanging in there. It was kind of a exciting weekend. A little tired today, but just kind of taking it easy. How about you?
Trying to do pretty much the same thing. It's been an exciting weekend for me as well, but for a very different reason. And also wow, hard for me to say apparently that I am also trying to take it easy. Did a little bit of grocery shopping this morning. I really didn't want to. I wanted to Instacart, but I figured I should be able to pick everything out myself. And thankfully and surprisingly, because it was Sunday morning at the time of my shop, there was hardly anybody at the grocery store. So,
nice. That's the great, question of 2020. Do I, order it for delivery or do I go get it myself? Because I've started doing I signed up for Dash Pass, and Dash Pass isn't sponsoring this video, but but I totally just did a free trial. I don't know if I'll keep it. We'll see. But it is pretty magical to tap something on your phone and it to show up on your doorstep 20 minutes later.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. I might sign up for something like that in the coming weeks when I will be flying solo at home. But who knows? Anyway, let's see what else been going on. Anything else in the past few days for you?
Not in particular. I haven't been playing a ton of variety of games, which we'll get into a little bit later, but I've been kind of focusing on a few core titles. Spoiler, part of our going back in time that's coming up. That was a considerable amount of time for me, but I was definitely enjoying it.
Nice. Yeah, a lot of the stuff that I did play, because I've got a few things that are kind of all over the place. That was early into, I guess, the time right after our previous episode. So I spoiler alert, did not get to play as much as you on Psychonauts, but still did get to experience a decent amount of it. And I'm looking forward to our time travel adventure later as we talk about it. And let's see. Yeah, and also a big part of the reason, or actually not big part, the reason why I did not get to play as much is because of there have been fires that have been going on in California, and I am somewhat near one of them, and so are you, kind of in at least in a physically different area, but I think the same fire or range of fires were affecting us. And I just decided to evacuate, even though I wasn't officially in an evacuation zone. There was one that was pretty close to where I live. So I thought, better safe than sorry. Might as well take up the time to pack up the important stuff and slowly get out of town for a little while. Instead of, if things actually got worse, than having to very quickly do all of that and take cats and pack and, try to get out of town the same time as everyone else. So I am so glad that it turns out that I did that for no reason.
Yeah.
That is the best case scenario is, is that whole thing was pointless. And it was, except it was also nice to be able to see my parents since I hadn't really seen them for any considerable amount of time since last year, which is silly because they only live a few hours away. But it's also not silly because COVID. So anyway, that was why I didn't get to play as much of Psychonauts as I had hoped to, but we'll talk about all that stuff later. Anything else to banter about before we jump in the news?
Yeah, I certainly don't blame you too, because with, since if there's any time there's really poor air quality problems and you don't have an air conditioner in the summer, it's
that's also what was going on. No AC and couldn't open the windows, and it was really, really smoky outside. So I'm super happy that we got back home yesterday. My house did not smell like smoke, and we've actually had some pretty decent air quality. So we were able to air out the house yesterday, and even have the windows open for a bit this morning. So
yeah, you're
it's
quite
nice.
literally smoked out of your house. So
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, it's great to be home. Um, Back in my own bed, back cooking in my own kitchen, back sitting in my wonderful computer chair that I really missed for the entirety of last week when I was trying to work from a couch, from a kitchen table, from a bedroom, having no real home base and doing everything on my laptop again. Definitely was not an optimal experience for work, but I am very fortunate that I was able to actually do that. So, yeah. Anyway, glad to be home where where my games are, um, and yeah, finally get to do some more gaming.
and all the things you take for granted, from being away from home, right?
Yeah.
It's like no place like home, as they say.
Yep. But I did get to eat some really great food with my parents. Got to celebrate my stepdad's birthday with him, which is the first time that I've done that in person with him on his actual birthday in a number of years. So that was also cool. Had a really
That is super
nice,
cool.
yeah, had a really nice dinner that my partner made for all of us. This chorizo pasta, um, man, delicious.
Yeah, sign me up.
Yeah.
You had me at chorizo. So
Yes. And man, it was really good chorizo from the butcher that my stepdad goes to.
nice.
I think that's it for me on I guess personal news. Anything from you before we move on into gaming news?
No, that's about it. I anticipate I'm going to have some more time for gaming these next couple of weeks, since my partner will probably be taking a trip, but we'll see. So
Yeah, me too. For pretty much same type of reasons, except it's not because your partner is going on a trip. That's not why I have more game time.
yeah, exactly.
That would be really weird. All right. Let's hop into what's been going on news wise in the game world. And the first thing up in this list is something that I was very surprised by and very also happy to see. Oh, sorry. Oh, I put something else in slot one. Well, I am also surprised and happy to see this too, is that there is a potential new model or hardware revision of the Nintendo Switch coming next year. It's got the graphics, it's got more graphics.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible they could be releasing something a little bit more powerful than what currently is out, but not, a Switch 2. I think this would be something akin to the new Nintendo 3DS as compared to the Nintendo 3DS.
Yeah, I think you're right on there. And also, Nintendo, I think it's really interesting. I think kind of like American media outlets like sort of misinterpret how Nintendo like does its public speaking, or if there's something that's very specific to Japan. But Nintendo's been like, uh, vehemently like refusing any claims that this console is in development or exists. But I think if this comes out, it is clear that this has been in their wheelhouse for quite some time.
Yeah.
And I have another example. Is usually like when the Nintendo Switch was like first announced, and it had a project name that escapes me right now. I thought of the Revolution, but that was the Wii. But anyway, there
Oh
is
yeah, that's right. No, wait, no. I thought that was Dolphin was the Wii.
That was the GameCube, I believe. Dolphin was the GameCube because I was pretty sure, since that's how the GameCube emulator became Dolphin. But
Okay. Okay. That makes sense then.
so I think. But anyway, before the Nintendo Switch had a name,
Oh, you know what? I think you
it
are
was
right about the
Next.
Revolution.
It, it
Sorry.
It was, yes. It was the Nintendo Next, I think is what they were calling it at the time. And the whole thing is that they were going to introduce this product and the Wii U was still going to exist, and they were going to
One of
be
those
like,
moves.
yeah, they were like, okay, well, we're just adding another pillar to our
Yes.
hardware. But that totally didn't happen. And pretty much as soon as the Wii, or excuse me, the Switch became a success, the Wii U was quickly swept under the rug. So as far as development goes,
Yeah.
so it does exist. They're not lying. You can still buy games using, like online. There's still you can still download games, existing games, but no new games are coming out for the Wii U, is my understanding.
Well, I beg to differ.
Okay. You're gonna have to tell me about
So
that.
there's literally one example I can think of because I just pre-ordered it, which was Project. Wait, crap. Oh no, not Project. Showdown Hawaii. Is that
Oh,
what it's called?
it's coming out on the Wii U.
Dang it! Is that what it's called? Am I? Oh, Shakedown, not Showdown. What am I
Okay.
talking about?
Okay.
Shakedown Hawaii. So that's out already on the Switch and I think other platforms. It just got a physical release on the Wii U and on the Wii.
That's pretty random, but I think
Yeah.
that's really cool.
Yeah. So I, for $30, I ordered it for the Wii U directly from V Blank Entertainment. Um, so I think that's actually was supposed to have shipped in the past couple of days. So I'm going to be on the lookout for that. One of the last games to come out as a brand new release for the Wii U.
Yeah, and going back to like the Switch revision too, I'm
Yeah,
really excited. I got my Switch on launch day and have loved it ever since. But I'm definitely had it long enough to where I'm thinking about an upgrade when one becomes available.
yeah. Um, I don't always go that route and do like console revisions and updates, but I think that I would definitely consider that for the Switch. I mean, I know there's already been a hardware revision where like there's better battery life, um, and that I don't know, that just wasn't quite enough for me to think like, yep, that's what I need. But
Yeah,
if they do have graphic updates, for the GPU, or more RAM or something, I think that'd be really nice. Even if it doesn't do a lot, for the existing visuals for the game, if it can make some of the frame rate in games like Overwatch more solid, then I think that would probably be worth it.
I think so. If they can just kind of, give it a little, like Sony's boost mode, maybe just make it so that the display options natively support 4K, not necessarily play all games in 4K.
Yeah.
I think that would be definitely worth it, because it just makes sense to me. NVIDIA's chips, I think the chips that they're using, their SoCs, they are capable of doing 4K because
Oh wow.
it's similar to what is in the NVIDIA Shield. So,
Gotcha.
and that is a 4K streaming box and gaming machine. So
Oh yeah, you're right.
it seems normal to me. So it's just natural evolution. So we'll see.
Yeah. So that'd be cool. But also if it doesn't happen, whatever. I still like my Switch. Um all right, next item. The thing that I originally was saying, I'm really looking forward to this and was surprised, is that there is a new official Left 4 Dead 2 update coming to, well, Left 4 Dead 2. And I think it's been like, I think that game released 11 years ago and it's it's getting a new update. Um, I'm excited. So it's admittedly this content is not made by Valve, but I almost think that that's cooler that they're releasing this as official content for the game because it's community made. It's a campaign called Last Stand, and it's coming as an official part of the game. I think Valve has a really great track record of embracing their like fan made content and community content as something that exists as, you know, it's as an official part of the game, or even an official part of the universe. And part of the reason I'm saying that is because when you look at the list of the Half-Life games on Steam, Black Mesa is listed as like officially with all of the Half-Life games, and they didn't make it. It was made by the Crowbar Collective, like people that just loved the original Half-Life so much and recreated it from the ground up in the Source engine. And it's so cool to see Valve really like supporting and even like thanking the fans in this kind of way, for standing by the content that they've made.
Yeah, it's kind of the fans' pipe dream, right? You know, they in
Yeah.
a way they became Valve developers without actually being
Yeah.
Valve developers. That's
That's pretty amazing.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited to try this out whenever it drops.
Yeah, there's really good, you know, fan projects out there that, you know, people have made. Have you ever heard of Sonic Robo Blast 2? Um,
I don't think so.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to talk about that at some point, but
Okay.
I want to fire it up. But basically, Sonic Robo Blast was a very cheap knockoff of a Sonic game that came out like 15 years ago or something. But Digital Foundry just put up a video kind of analyzing Sonic Robo Blast 2, which was in development also for like a decade, but is a completely original Sonic fan mod that is built in the Doom engine, which is kind of interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, it's something to see. You can definitely see the way that the camera pans and why it's a Doom game, but
And so it's first person.
it's actually third person.
Oh, okay.
But the way the camera pans, it's like, yeah, no, that's Doom. That's how the camera rotates. But
So
it's
they went for
interesting.
like a Sonic Adventure type feel, but with like Doom graphics.
Yeah, yeah, kind of in a way. It definitely, you know, you'll just actually have to check out a video because it is really hard to describe. It's something that feels like a Mode 7 where it's like 2D graphics imitating 3D, but
Nice.
it's really cool.
Yeah, I definitely would be interested in checking that out. Um, cool. Well, the next thing also, I guess, well, it's related to Steam. There is a new Steam chat filter coming, where you will actually be able to control a bit of what you end up seeing in this chat filter, and you can either add different words, remove different words that are automatically in the filter. Depends on each person, which I think is a really nice way to go about filtering.
Yeah, and I think this is a great, you know, I'm sure it's in response to sort of like the refocus that, you know, the world is having on equality and equity and just everyone, in my opinion, or as I like to simply put it, everyone learning to be nice to each other. So anyway, without digging into that, I think this is really cool, you know, just a way to try and just push the industry to be like maybe a little less toxic
Yeah,
online.
yeah.
And
No,
it's
I personally, I can't say anything. Sorry, I can't see anything bad coming from this.
yes, true. And I always like I'm always working on myself, you know, like it's all even just like with trash talk online. I try and keep it like friendly, you know, like I want people to realize that yes, we're playing against each other in this game, but I don't hate you as a person, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
So you know, I caught myself a little bit in of course I wouldn't use anything like racial slurs or someone's
No,
gender into question or
that's
something
yeah,
like that. But
that's just flat out inappropriate.
it is inappropriate. But you know, I did find myself trash talking a little bit. I'm like, this is mean. I don't actually need to do this. Like,
Well, if everyone's going along with it, then I think it's hilarious to trash talk each other. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I tend not to do it in like public online games,
mhm.
unless like I don't know. I usually only sometimes. I guess people bait me a little bit, and then I come back and I reply. But I'm never the first one to say anything. But if
Sure.
someone's being like that much of a jerk, I really try to then focus on them in the game and making them have a less good time if possible. But half the time that backfires, and then I just end up doing worse, and then I just stay quiet.
It becomes a rivalry, right? You know, so like that,
Yeah,
I need to make sure that that
yeah,
guy,
that's
you
true.
know, um, yeah. I talk about it a little bit more in my StarCraft too, but it's like, hey, that guy has the ability to mess with me. I need to make sure that that guy can't play this game effectively for the rest of this game. Like,
Yeah,
so
yep. That made me think in Pavlov VR, which I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this before, especially if there was somebody who had their mic on that was kind of annoying. I would seek them out and as quietly as I could run around the map with only my grenade in my hand. Like I literally like threw my gun somewhere else, didn't care about it. So I just have my pistol and a grenade, and I'm walking around with the pin already pulled, holding down the lever. And then as soon as I see the person, let go of the lever and run towards them as quickly as I can, holding the grenade in front of me to just try to put it in their face. Or I also, if I've snuck up behind somebody, I'll do all of that, and then I let the lever go like as I'm putting it in front of their face, standing behind them, which doing that in VR is hilarious. Like trolling people, I mean, it's not really trolling people, but like having fun with people in that way, where they're standing, they're sniping, and you just like tiptoe up behind them, bing, grenades in their face, and then you hear them on the mic go, "Oh my god, what the?" It's like my favorite thing to do in that game. Anyway,
that's a whole new aspect. That's so funny.
seriously, like I've been crying from laughing so hard playing this game in that way, and like and not treating it like a serious shooter. But anyway, I'm going off the rails. We're talking about, chat filters and people
Uh-huh.
being gross and terrible, and trash talking in a fun way, an
Yes.
acceptable way. Um, so all right, I'm gonna jump on from that and go to the next news item, which I'm becoming pretty excited for Star Wars Squadrons. There was a new gameplay preview video that was just released, and man, does it look fun!
It looks
I can't
beautiful.
wait. Like the visuals look awesome. There's going to be a single player campaign. It fully supports VR. It looks like um, Star Wars Rogue Squadron for the N64, the way that I remember it.
Yes,
Like in my
exactly.
mind, that's the way that this game looks. Which I'm sure that if I were to pop my cart in my N64 right now, it'd be like, wow, that is definitely not the way that I remember. But yeah, it looks so good. Like I cannot wait to play this.
Yeah, I didn't know that it fully supported VR, so that's exciting. And I was also kind of mad
Yeah.
watching that trailer because I'm like, this looks like something that supports like a HOTAS setup. And I was like,
Yeah.
I oh man, I really don't want to buy one of those, but it would be so much better
I mean,
anyway with
even if you
one.
don't go full like HOTAS, and for those who have like wonder what silly thing we're saying, it's HOTAS, hands on throttle and stick.
Yes, yes.
So
So a
it's
flight stick with
yeah,
throttle.
for a flight stick with a separate throttle control. Um, I I have a joystick where it has a little throttle thing on it, but it's not its own full separate um, separate device.
Totally. I mean that, and also I'm a fan of War Thunder as well. I would love to like revisit War Thunder with, the HOTAS setup as well. So anyway, I don't want to, but I think kicking and screaming I'm gonna end up buying one.
Yeah, well, at least some kind of joystick,
Yeah.
because then that would be great for playing Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, which I have definitely more to say about later.
Yes. Yeah, likewise.
So yeah, very excited for Star Wars Squadrons. I think it's coming out the first week of October or sometime around then. So very excited to have something new in VR coming. And speaking about something new coming, you can sign up via one of Sony's websites to be directly notified of how and when to pre-order the PlayStation 5.
This is exciting. I think this is it sounds like they're taking an organized approach, which I think is smart because I am betting that this is going to be hard to come by. PS5s are going to be pretty scarce.
Yeah, and also on that website that I linked to, they explicitly say that. They're like, "Hey,
Wow.
it's gonna be limited quantity, on release day," which I would expect because everything in the world is a bit different when it comes to shipping and manufacturing right now. Things are not as well oiled as they once were.
It's also a little hard to separate sort of the hype from, what kind of hardware is actually in this thing because kind of everyone's expecting this console to be like super powerful, but we have no idea like what the exact specs of each component are inside of this thing.
Yeah.
I think we have maybe a ballpark, but anyway, I just I imagine they are pushing boundaries here, so this is new technology at the same time. So
Yeah, I just hope they don't pull a PS3 and say that you need to get a second job to be able to pay for this. I think they learned
no.
their lesson.
Oy. Yeah, I hope so
I don't
too.
imagine that they'll do that, but just wanted to bring that back up because I remember that when the PS3 launched. I'm like, oh, I need a second job. No, I'm just not going to buy your console, which I did ultimately end up buying it much later.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, so with the PS5 coming out this year, are you planning on getting that at launch?
Not myself. And I the reason is I've become sort of a late adopter when it comes to consoles since I'm kind of PC first these days.
Gotcha.
It's actually I'm kind of amazed when I look at what I've been playing and I haven't picked up a single, like a console game in quite some time. Um, but I will eventually definitely have to experience what is exclusive on the PlayStation. And that's sort of my strategy. I kind of got, I was an early adopter on the PS3. I paid the $600 for the 60 gigabyte model. So,
Yeah, but now you still, so that just means though that you have one of the best versions of the PS3 that exists right now because yours is PS2 backwards compatible, right?
yeah. Well, I also got like the second hardware revision of the Xbox 360, which was still very much in the red ring of death. So,
Yeah, the second revision. Wait, yeah, the second version of it, that was the one that they introduced the HDMI port, right?
no, actually. So maybe I'm trying to remember exactly, but I didn't get it at launch, but it was before they were putting HDMI on the 360 for sure.
Okay. Hmm.
So it may have been a first version. It was I know the 360 had like they had the CD drive had the white or faceplate at some point, but mine had the silver. So I think that also kind of indicated which it was very early. I'll
Yeah,
just say that.
I had 6 of those
Mhm.
because of the red ring issue.
Yeah. So that was the best PS3 to buy, but also I got the worst Xbox. So
Yeah. Um. All right. So yeah, I'm not going to be pre-ordering the PS5 to get it at release. I don't know when I'm going to get it. I know I eventually will. Because I like having all the things if I can.
yes.
Because I might skew towards different platforms a little bit more heavily than others. Um, but I honestly I like them all. I think there's definitely great things about every console that is out and has been out.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, still on the subject of PlayStation, Fall Guys. Have you played Fall Guys?
Not yet. I've somehow avoided playing Fall Guys.
Well, I've played it a little bit. I did not contribute to this number because I have lapsed my PS Plus subscription, but Fall Guys is the most downloaded game in PS Plus history prior to Fall Guys, it was Rocket League, which I am
Wow.
not surprised by, because that was how I got introduced to Rocket League. And wow, that was a great idea to release that game via PS Plus. And I think it was also a great idea to release this game via PS Plus, because I think that Fall Guys. Wait, and who made Fall Guys?
That's
Double Fine.
actually no, I don't think it was Double Fine, but I could be wrong.
I'm probably just thinking Double Fine because of Psychonauts.
Mhm.
But yeah, Fall Guys, I think they were expecting like high numbers, that they would maybe end up doing like 100K, 200K in sales, maybe, which I know that PS Plus is not a direct sale, but there were still, I think, oh man, actually, I'm not going to say a number. There were a lot of sales for the Steam version, and I am one of those people who purchased it on Steam.
Yeah, Mediatonic was that developer
Got it.
for
Okay.
Fall Guys, but you know, I used to download PlayStation Vita games from PlayStation Plus just to claim them without actually owning a Vita. So
I
I
did that
did,
too until I got a Vita.
yeah. Well, I never got one, so that was kind of funny. But
Oh man, you can still
yeah,
get one.
yeah,
They're great.
I'll look into it. But one day. And anyway, I missed Rocket League on PlayStation Plus for some reason. I
Oh
just
no.
wasn't playing my PlayStation at the time, and I might actually miss this if I don't hurry to get Fall Guys on
Yeah,
PlayStation Plus.
hurry up.
So,
Get
yeah,
it.
I'll
It's a
totally
good
do that.
game. It's fun. I mean, it's pretty simple and ridiculous. But it's really easy for anyone to pick up and understand.
Yeah, I like that. Maybe easy to learn and probably difficult to master, I imagine.
I don't know. I don't even know if there's skill involved in this game from the little bit that I've played, but I'm saying that as somebody who's, I think, never, I don't know if I've ever placed in the top 20. Um, but well, yeah, because I think I've only made it to the third round once ever. I usually get knocked out in the first or the second round. Um, but it's a lot of fun. I definitely look forward to playing more of it. And let's see, the last thing. Well, this isn't actually news, but I just saw this yesterday. Excuse me, yesterday, and then I just made you watch it right before we started recording. There's if you search via YouTube for cooking with G-Man Headcrab Jambalaya, um, it is hilarious. Somebody made it with the Source Filmmaker too, and they're using the Half-Life Alyx assets. And I mean, it kind of reminds me of this parodied Cooking with Christopher Walken uh, video from the internet from, I don't know, many, many years ago. I can't remember the comedian's name, but he's doing an impersonation of Christopher Walken. And I also just realized from watching this how similar the cadence in speech G-Man is to Christopher Walken. I mean, I'm not saying like their inflection and everything is the same, but there's certain things about the way that they both speak that remind me of each other.
Yeah, they definitely have a very. I think that's what's kind of interesting about both of those characters is they sort of play with the timing on how they say things, and to either comedic or probably more in the case of G-Man in a creepy way. So
Yes, very creepy.
yeah, so it's like it creepy, funny video, lots of Half-Life fan service in that video too. So I recommend it.
Yeah. Definitely check it out if you remotely like Half-Life and you know who the G-Man is. It's totally worth searching it and watching for it. I especially love when he's talking about unforeseen consequences, and I'll leave it at that. Um, so that's all I have to say about that. Is there any other news that we did not put in our outline that you've just realized exists that you want to mention?
Um, I don't. I think we're good. I think we're ready for the time machine.
Well, it's funny now that I said that. I want to throw out one little thing. So this apparently was announced in July, and I think that makes sense based on everything. But it feels like it wasn't that long ago. / also feels like it was longer than that, which doesn't really make sense. But that's how 2020 feels. The Sega Astro City Mini is going to be available on Amazon, or is available on Amazon Japan for pre-order. Comes out, I think, sometime in December. But it very much looks like the Neo Geo SNK Mini. Pretty much same form factor, but looks like the Sega Astro City arcade cabinet, and I think has like 36 or 40 games or something on it. I'm really excited because I love the look of those cabinets, and I also like those Sega games that are going to be on it. But yeah, I just want to throw that out there in case anyone was not aware. And if you like old Sega arcade games. So with all that being said, I guess it's time to step on into the time machine and go talk about Psychonauts. So now, actually, no, we haven't arrived. We're going to 2005. I didn't even say where the heck we were going. We're going to 2005. And we're going to be talking about Psychonauts when we get there. So let's step in the machine right now. And we're now in 2005. And now that we're in 2005, I think I hear Candy Shop by 50 Cent featuring Olivia. Why, yes, that was the most popular song on April 19th, 2005, which is the release date of Psychonauts on the Xbox. It was released on a couple other things too, but we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But also, now that it's 2005, did you guys hear about this thing called YouTube? Apparently you can watch videos on the internet, and you can put your own videos there for people to watch. What a wild concept.
That'll never catch on.
Yeah. Oh man. I just, it's weird to think about the internet before YouTube.
Yes.
Because getting videos was hard. So yeah, I mean, now that we're in 2005, it was really hard to find video content in one place until this year. Also, hey, this fancy new video game console, the Microsoft Xbox 360, has just been released this year in North America. Also got to watch the finale of the amazing Star Wars movies, Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Yeah, it wasn't that great.
No, but I remember seeing it more than once in theaters at the time.
Yeah. I mean, I might throw shade at it now, but yeah, I watched, I enthusiastically watched all of those movies as they were released. And I think I saw all 3 of the episode 1, 2, and 3 movies at least twice, if not more, in the theaters. And also Wedding Crashers, which, man, that's a great movie, was released in 2005. Super funny. And there's a little show that was released. I don't know if you've heard of it. TV show called The Office? Yeah, I don't know. It probably won't do that well.
Yeah.
Also, Mitch Hedberg, comedian, sadly, his death was announced on April Fool's Day in 2005, and it led many people to believe that it was a hoax because of the date, which, he's a comedian. I used to love Mitch Hedberg. Mm-hmm. I still do, but I used to too. Also, Guitar Hero was released, which, holy crap, I played a lot of Guitar Hero. That was like the reason why I continued, like why my PS2 had life, and actually why my PS2 died was Guitar Hero. And then I had to buy the Slim that I still have. And last but not least, how I know it is 2005 is the NVIDIA GeForce LAN 2.0 in San Francisco for the Battlefield 2 PC release was a thing. The day Actually, the GeForce Land 2.0, it it was the same day that Psychonauts released on PS2.
Wow. Wow. That's
Interesting
really
little
cool.
fact.
Yeah. I'm going to dive in a little bit on the history here,
Yes, please do.
Psychonauts, which I'm just going to preface. I'm really excited about this game. I've kind of discussed before. Double Fine's one of my favorite developers, and going over the sort of the history and the reception here, I'm just kind of paraphrasing what's generally known on the internet. Check out Wikipedia if you want a lot more details, because it is an interesting story. But it is commonly known that Psychonauts was born from an idea from Tim Schafer when he was working for Lucasfilm, LucasArts, developing the PC adventure game Full Throttle. The idea was that there was a sequence that the player would guide the protagonist through a sort of peyote field hallucination. So it's sort of a radically different level design. But this idea wasn't popular with LucasArts, as they wanted to be more family friendly. So Tim decided to leave LucasArts and to form his own studio, Double Fine. I believe it's Double Fine Entertainment is like the full. Anyway, look
Yeah.
it up. And create what we now know as Psychonauts. Eventually, after some delays with publishing trouble, because Microsoft was going to publish this title exclusively for the original Xbox, they dropped the title for sort of a number of reasons, but they were able to pick up the publisher Majesco to actually release the game. The game also would so and changing it from an Xbox exclusive, it did release on Microsoft Windows, and then a little bit later on the PS2, they had a separate developer. The game was critically acclaimed and lauded, but not a commercial success. So only selling in the release window 100,000 units. Some years later, Double Fine would actually repurchase the rights from Majesco and release it on Steam, and they would sell about 1.7 million copies is kind of what we would say, which is,
That's
obviously
crazy.
that's almost 20x, what their initial launch was. So
I
that's
know. That's so crazy that
um,
it would go on to re-release and get those numbers.
the Steam release is interesting too, because the game needed some updates since this was a few years later. This is 2015. So they needed to spruce things up a little bit. So they have some really nice textures in there that look great today. There was one other point I was going to make on this. But Double Fine has this sort of, they call them in their Double Fine adventure documentary, they called it, they have evergreen games. So they're not the kind of games that sell a lot and then die off. They're kind of the games that they release and then continue to make money over long periods of time, just because they tend to be sort of cult classics. So kind of slowly word of mouth. It's just a weird, interesting phenomena that's not common in the gaming industry.
Yeah, it's definitely not common, but that's really cool.
It's a hard business too, actually, to be in. So, talking a little bit more about the game, I'm going to jump into the plot here. The player assumes the role of a boy named Rasputin, or Raz, as he's commonly referred to, who runs away from his family that are of circus performers. He has a large family, many siblings, to join a summer camp for training young psychics. And it's a sort of a government sort of run operation. So I think that's actually kind of funny. I want to point out that he ran away from the circus.
Yeah,
So,
ran away
rather,
from the circus to go join a government training operation for psychics for kids.
yeah, seems like most people do the opposite, but in that particular situation, or just running away to join the circus in general.
Yeah.
So Raz sort of quickly uncovers a conspiracy to steal the children's brains, the campers, to use them to make sort of psychic fueled weapons. And what you'll notice is the early levels sort of serve as kind of a tutorial teaching you the mechanics, but later you're sort of using all of your abilities to transport yourself into the minds of various characters to solve puzzles, and thus actually opening up new parts of the overworld. The setting, the Whispering Rocks Psychic Summer Camp tongue twister is rich with like more lore than it has any right to. So it's positioned near what is called Lake Oblongata, just kind of fitting in with the brain and psychic theme. But there is sort of a abandoned asylum, the Thorny Towers Home for the Disturbed, and which you will later travel to. And the camp was originally a crash site for a meteor made of the fictional element Titanium. They also have the sort of backstory that sort of Native American settlers made arrowheads out of the Titanium and buried them there. And I thought there was this really kind of sort of clever joke that they said, "Oh my God, I can't believe this is the Native Americans buried their dead here." And they say, "No, dummy, they buried their arrowheads here, not dead people."
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of funny. So I'm going to let you kind of talk a little bit about sort of your impressions on the game, since I've talked a lot.
Sorry, I need to not have push spacebar and then also have to scroll. So I'm like making the document jump around weird while I'm trying to talk. Okay. So yeah, I did not play this when this was new at all. I definitely heard about it when it was coming out. And I've always heard really good things about it, but at the time, I considered myself too old to play games like this. Because 2005, I was 21. And since this was a 3D, platforming type game, I'm like, I only play shooters and in real-time strategy games and MMORPGs. Like, I only do stuff on my PC because that's where big boy grown-ups play video games. Which, man, that was a weird phase. And yeah, so anyway, it really, like, even though I know it existed, I had little to no interest in it. The only thing that I was even really playing on console at the time, like, I know that we were talking about end of 2004, and like playing a little bit of GTA San Andreas in our last episode, but really, like, I was playing Guitar Hero. That was really the only thing in 2005 that I think that I was playing on any console. Because I was playing Battlefield 2 on PC because that released at the same time as the PS2 release of Psychonauts, and I also only had like a handful of games on my Xbox at that time, and really, I don't know, I had it so that I could play Halo with some friends, but really wasn't seeking out exclusive. Well, I guess it wasn't exclusive. You talked about that, how it was no longer exclusive. So yeah, again, no historical reference point for this game. But this time around, I did start playing the Xbox version via backwards compatibility on the Xbox One. And it's Xbox One X enhanced. So it is up-resed to 4K. Things overall, as far as it being an original Xbox game, it looks pretty good. And overall, I would say that it does play well. The 3D platforming isn't too bad. I've heard from like discussing with other people that I know have played this game. They've complained a bit about the 3D platforming. So I had a little bit of that like skewed before in my head before I even started playing it. But even kind of expecting it, I'm like, no, this actually is not bad at all. I've definitely played other 3D platformers that are much more floaty and difficult to control. So anyway, this I think still is fun. I would definitely still consider it to be an evergreen type game in that respect. The main thing that was frustrating to me though was when I was fighting against the lungfish boss, it really wasn't obvious like what I needed to do, and I kept dying over and over and over again. And what is interesting is like it wasn't obvious of how I was supposed to like trigger doing damage, even though I had done it a few times accidentally, and I was trying to do what I thought that I had done to reproduce getting him like stuck with the the clam clamping down during his attack. Like I just could not get I could not reproduce that. So I thought I was doing something wrong. And then I looked up the YouTube video of like, okay, like I ended up dying, I don't know how many times. So I looked up how to do it. And it turns out, no, I was doing it right. I just wasn't consistently getting that animation to happen where he would be stuck in place where I could attack him. Um, so that was frustrating, but then even more frustrating than that. Well, and I think this is probably specific to me playing the Xbox version on the Xbox One X, because you sounded very surprised when I had said that I was experiencing this issue, where I would save my game, like hit start, save, like intentionally save it, not do an auto save, which actually I don't even know if it does auto saves. But yeah, go out of my way to save the game and shut it down because you can't suspend and then resume an original Xbox game on the Xbox One. And when I would load my save and I would come back, like my resources were halved. Like I didn't have as many arrowheads. I didn't have well, oh yeah, it is the arrowheads that you need to be able to get that what's that vacuum thing called?
Okay, so there's two things. There's okay, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the cobweb duster.
The cobweb duster, yes.
Yeah.
So I needed that. So I needed that for one of the missions or I guess levels that I needed to go and do. So I was probably only 100 arrowheads shy from what I needed, which that doesn't take too long is once you have that divining rod.
Yeah, the
arrowheads.
the
Like,
arrowhead dowsing rod is what they
dowsing
call
rod,
it
that's
in
what
the
it
game.
is.
You're not wrong though. So
Yeah, so the dowsing rod, you can easily get like 30 to 50 arrowheads when you're when it's working. So yeah, I only had like 100 left, saved the game, quit, came back, and I had like 100 arrowheads when I think you need 800 to be able to buy the cobweb duster. So things like that happened a couple of times where I had inexplicably lost progress even after saving. And I thought maybe I was crazy, that maybe I had like picked the wrong save. And I did intentionally try to pull up a save after just hitting continue, because normally that's the way that I was doing it, was hitting continue to go back into my game. So yeah, that it left a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth trying to like get through the early game and just have it lose my progress. I imagine that if I would have played it on PC, I would have not run into the same thing. So next time, maybe. And the last little bit that I have, so after fighting the lungfish boss and then being able to throw that little door on his head, I loved the Godzilla type experience that you get to have where you're running around the city and then you end up also fighting, I can't remember the guy's name. He kind of looks like a bean in a like wrestling outfit or like superhero type outfit. I thought that was a lot of fun. It like that whole area made me think of the Rampage games also. That or like King of the Monsters as well, that Neo Geo side like 2D fighting game or 2.5D or I don't know what the heck.
yeah, the fact that you can climb buildings is almost certainly a Rampage reference,
Yeah,
So
like I thought that was really cool. And so I only got as far as getting inside of the mind of that crazy guy who's like, you need to find the milkman. Um, and I went inside and was following the weird neighborhood path and the um, how everything's like upside down or sideways or all over the place. And I did quickly understand what I needed to do to get to certain areas, because they have those guys that are in all different areas that are, what are they like wearing suits or
Yeah, they're almost like traditional FBI agents in trench coats, sort of like.
yeah, that's what it was. So yeah, seeing those guys and seeing the props that they're holding for you to like indicating that you need to go find those things so that you can masquerade as them to be able to get into that particular area. I just had an issue with trying to find some of those things so that you could masquerade as them and get to different areas of that level. Um, and then that's where I kind of stopped, because that was when I ended up, packing stuff up and going to stay at my parents' house for like 8 days with my partner and our cats. So um, didn't have anywhere that I could plug in my Xbox, and just played a couple things on my Switch while I was there with like the few times I was even able to do that. So anyway, that has nothing to do with Psychonauts, but that unfortunately is where I left off. And wish that I would have had more of a chance to play some of this game.
Yeah, and I think you got a pretty good breath of it, and the fact that you got to sort of taste the milkman conspiracy, you'll get like a lot of meme references with this game.
Okay.
And because if anyone talks about levels in this game, they talk about the milkman conspiracy, because
All
some
right.
people are disturbed by it because they see this and like, this is messed up, like this is like deep. And the boss you were thinking of in Lungfishopolis was Cochamara,
Oh,
um,
that's right.
which is funny because so the kind of a little spoiler, the main antagonist is the coach, so it's sort of a pun on his name.
Oh, yeah.
So this game is just dripping with that stuff, though. Like there's I didn't get that reference until my most recent playthrough, that Cochamara. I'm like, why is he have this like oddly Japanese name, like almost like, but it's a coach pun.
Yeah, and I don't know. I thought that whole that whole section when you're breaking out the prisoners and it's like, wait, am I actually doing something good right now? Like, am I helping these lungfish, or am I actually the bad guy?
Yeah, and I love, they have these little cutscenes that interrupt you, and they kind of just talk about like what's happening, like as if you're on the news, and then there's like these little
Yes.
subliminal thoughts, like like abducting children is actually okay at the end. So it's clear the coach is brainwashing the lungfish that you're actually inhabiting. So um, it's that's it, so it's really good. You got a good taste of it. That's one of my favorite levels now. I didn't like it as much before because I feel like that level took a lot of time, and it's a fair amount, but this last run that I did, this playthrough, I did 100%, and it did take a
Nice.
while to actually get everything from that level, mostly because I forgot one of the figments that you were supposed to collect, which I love. They're just like concept art made collectible. The only thing about figments is I will argue they are sometimes hard to see. So it's difficult to sort of collect them all. But I forgot a figment at the very beginning of the level. It's like one of those where like you spawn and you need to turn right and there's one right there. So that's the one I was missing. I had picked up, feel free to chime in here and, when I'm talking about this
Yeah, of
as
course.
well. So, um, I played the PC version, and the Xbox version, runs every bit as good and is very playable. The only reason I chose the PC version is because it supports the 16:9 widescreen, whereas the
Yeah.
Xbox is the 4:3. And you can get used to anything, and so I could certainly get used to that, is what I like to say. So, but I just kind of preferred to take up more of the monitor if I could.
Yeah. I mean, why
Um,
not?
yeah, and the PC has its own share of versions. I know the Xbox One version, that's I pulled up some message boards. There were some bugs. At one point, you could actually buy the game on Xbox One as a backwards compatible, but for a few weeks it didn't actually run. It wouldn't launch. It would
Oh,
crash on launch, which is a little unfortunate.
oh, yeah. Actually, that's something I did not mention. So I didn't experience crash on launch, but I did experience um, the game just hanging at a loading screen, and then
Yeah.
it wouldn't progress. I had to quit the game and relaunch.
Yeah, I was able to find my stride eventually, but like the first thing I did though, I couldn't get it to go because I had it installed on a separate drive that was not my boot drive on my PC, and that causes a bug for the character to completely malfunction. So
Oh,
basically, I
well,
would
I
get
would have experienced that then for
yeah,
sure.
it's the when you get to the main menu, it's one of those games that allows you to kind of control the main character to select your load file,
Yep.
and the character totally T poses, and actually was kind of humorous. The top of his head was actually like opened up like a hatch for some weird
Oh, wow.
reason. Like it was like the character wasn't completely assembled, so it's like the character wasn't loading in. So interesting, but once I figured that out, the game ran pretty smoothly from there. I didn't have any real other hiccups, and it's just it's an old game. I'll give it that argument. And so let's picking up here. So I use some of the like old knowledge from previous playthroughs. Like I remember that the arrowhead thing was kind of annoying, so I knew that the first thing I had to purchase was the arrowhead dowsing rod,
Got it.
because it's actually pretty easy for you to buy things like dream fluffs, which are like health potions for your character. When
Yeah, I didn't realize that
Yeah.
until right before I had to stop playing.
Yeah, and you talking about that, I realized there is an opportunity for the store to really be a little bit more guided, because at one point you can buy a couple items, but then you can buy like two more rows of items, and there is a sort of sequence that you should be buying things, but it's not really telling you. Um, but anyway, what I really like about this game is just sort of how varied the levels are, and in design and even your sort of objective. It seems like no two levels are really the same. So every level has like this surprising amount of consistency, though, that being said. So like there's emotional baggage that you have to sort. You have to find the tag and then find the
Yeah.
baggage,
Like
which
is there anything that goes along with that other than that's just a thing that you can do?
it's a collectible, and it's kind of like this lock and key sort of collectible. So you can find the lock, but that's not doesn't do you any good until you find the key, or vice versa. So I thought that was kind of just a clever collectible. I thought that the figments, since all of them are different, they just a sort of little like concept art that you collect throughout the game, and it sort of just adds more to the, like, I love that they have things like there's one level you're in sort of these like you're these in these streets sort of like Barcelona later in the game, and they have things like these balconies which normally look very plain, but they put these little like cat figments on them, so they sort of add to the level design as you're
Nice.
collecting them. So it's like, yeah, it's not quite decoration, but it's not quite all just MacGuffin that you're collecting. So I thought that was cool. The only thing that made me mad about those is that some of them move. So some of them you have to wait for their cycles to reset before you can collect them.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
so
Yeah, I noticed that in a few different areas as well. And I was like, I don't know if there's an incentive for me to get all of these,
yeah,
so I won't.
yeah, and definitely you unlock sort of like your rank. There's like 100 ranks. Technically, actually 101 ranks, and you gain ranks by getting experience, which are linked to figments and all the things that you collect. So if you get to 100% of the collectibles, you've made it to rank 100. Um,
Got it.
so I'll get to the, let's see, 101% there. There's a little there's a little story that's associated with that. Um, so I think though, after playing 100%, and I got this from a YouTuber as well. I forgot the YouTuber's name, so I'm sorry, but they said that it seems like this game is best played when you actually are um, like going out to collect 100%, just because it sort of adds to the story as well. So like there are different, when you go into the mind, there are these things called vaults that you have to like find and collect, and they consist of these little, I don't know what they're called. They're like, is it a viewfinder where you kind of like look through the
Oh yeah,
slides?
yeah. I thought those were cool.
Yeah, it gives backstory to the character, but it's also like particularly interesting like in an early level. So I'm going to spoil this just one. You collect one. It's the basic braining. It's the first level. You go there and you find there's one vault, and you open it, and it's called Coach's Pride, and it gives this like story of like, oh man, the coach is such a hero. He accomplished all these things in the army.
Yeah.
Um, but if you go back to that level with a cobweb duster, so you have to come back to it later, it unlocks another vault that you open. It's called Coach's Shame. And it actually just shows that he's a total
Oh,
fraud. He didn't get into the military. Like he's just basically an imposter. And I think that is so cool, you know, like just that idea. You
yeah, that
have to
is
go
cool.
back to, you know, get the full story. So I kind of found that there's also in there's one that you don't have to go back to, but in your levitation training, you learn there's a secret vault that gives like this huge backstory on Mia, and it
Oh yeah,
basically on her
I
past.
think I found that.
Yeah, there was like a, it was like a evil room, and basically it showed that she was she cared for children, and there was a terrible fire and they all died, but it was it's super creepy, and she's like, oh, let's not go there, like let's not talk about that. There's nothing fun in there, let's stay out. So anyway, it's just, I think it's kind of funny that you can sort of stumble into these characters backstories like literally. um
Yeah, I thought that was a really interesting way to do that.
Yeah, and it just every, you know, I got like I talked about the Coach Hammer reference. I get new things every time I play this game. It's just chock full of detail and charm. So um, now the 101%, I wasn't actually committed to doing this. I was just going to try and get 100% because you actually don't unlock anything for getting 101% except for an achievement in Steam that's called Math is Hard, um, which I thought was funny. But there in basic braining, there's a mini game where you actually have to like destroy these cardboard cutouts. It's teaching you how to use your basic attack. Well, so you do it once and the level unlocks and it lets you go forward. There's actually 4 more levels of difficulty that if you keep trying to do that game, and if you complete all 5, you get a rank up, which gets
Oh,
you
okay.
above the 101. So I did this last. I was already 100 when I went and did it, but I decided to go back and check it out. And it is difficult. It is not easy to do with mouse and keyboard, which I wasn't playing with, but it's easier with a controller. But I felt like I was doing frame perfect movements to actually beat it.
Oh
It's not
wow.
frame perfect. It's probably 3 frames, but it's like very tight. Like so it's almost like playing Smash Brothers, where you have to like aim a direction and smash. You do your smash move at the same time. You know, it's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
that kind of fast precision that you're actually doing it. So, um, anyway, that's the story about the 101%. Again, something I learned about this game that I didn't know before.
Nice. Yeah, I had not ever heard of that for this game. But so you talking about things to deal with control input reminded me of the fact that I think at least half of the time that I played this game, I was playing it using the re-released Xbox One version of the Duke controller.
Oh,
So I was playing Psychonauts with the Duke, like I said, for I think at least half of the time. But after a while, since I had been doing some other stuff with the Xbox One controller, I was like, no, I need to go back and just play with a regular controller and be comfortable, because I don't have the muscle memory of where the buttons are on the Duke. So when trying to reach, even just for some of the standard buttons, um, I wasn't always successful in hitting the right button.
That's really cool though, and it's funny because this game came out so late in the Xbox's life cycle. Actually, almost was converted to a 360 game, just because of the sort of Microsoft exclusive deal that
Yeah,
they
well,
had.
and yeah, it only came out like 6 months before the Xbox 360.
Yeah, so Microsoft was almost, had they probably stuck through it, they were probably going to encourage Double Fine to just make it a early Xbox 360 title, which would have been interesting.
Yeah, a lot of those early 360 titles that were late development, like previous generation games, really, it's obvious that they were previous generation games.
Oh, there's no better example than Cameo. That's an interesting story
Oh,
as well.
I was thinking of Bully
Oh,
also.
yeah, that was a port, but
Yeah.
yes, yeah, agreed.
Yeah, that's true. I guess it was a port. That's fair.
I wanted to talk a little bit about like just a few things that I thought were really kind of, again, sort of new
Yeah.
findings, but like since the camp has this sort of like huge titanium deposit, the animals, I guess, began developing psychokinetic powers. I'm not sure if that's a word. I just made it up. So like the sort of telekinetic levitating bears, the pyrokinetic sort of cougars. I don't know if they're actually called this, but I just sort of made these up.
Yeah.
But that's sort of the powers that they have. The cougars set you on fire. The bears attempt to capture you using their telekinesis so that they can come up to you and like swat you. Later in the game, they have when you're sort of climbing the thorny towers, like sort of end level, there's these confusion bomb rats that like basically just sort of like suicide attack you. They kind of like your grenades in Pavlov VR. Like they run at you. I like a lot of games when they attempt to like confuse you, they usually just do something like invert your controls. Um,
Yeah.
but what I thought was really interesting is they actually sort of mirror the screen. And I believe the controls are also either they're untouched, or I think they're untouched, because so what you're seeing is opposite. Your controls are normal, but your character's doing the exact opposite, which is really, really disorienting.
Wait, are you talking about when you fight that tank thing?
Um, that one does shoot confusion bombs, so it is the same effect. Yes.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
thought it was really effective. Whereas most games, I'd be like, "Oh, I can play this backwards. That's not a big deal." But
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have too difficult a time with that specifically, but I did have a difficult time also taking down that boss.
yeah,
But not quite as difficult as the lungfish one.
and the game is, it comes. Tim Schafer is his wheelhouse is adventure games, so everything is like a puzzle. Even the bosses, like if you're not going to accidentally defeat a boss in this game. Like you need to kind of know what you're doing. um Although with there is one boss in the Milkman conspiracy. There's actually two ways to beat them, which is I thought
Oh,
was a kind
interesting.
of interesting thing. Yeah. So at one point the lights go out and you can use clairvoyance to see from the boss's eyes, or you can kind of just sort of not do that and just sort of like target the boss sort of blindly and shoot at them. So it's like one of the like Metal Gear Solid, like move the controller port sort of almost
Yeah.
situation there.
Plug it
Like
into player two so that Psycho Mantis can't read your mind.
yeah, that I think that's almost a direct call to that. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Um, I talked a little bit about character backstories, but also when you're able to like return to a previous level, they actually added a cutscene and dialogue for like the reason why you're returning. So
Oh,
sometimes
okay.
going back to those levels, it was particularly with the Milkman conspiracy. There's a cutscene with the character say, "Hey, I see you're not so confused anymore. Are you okay if I poke around here a little bit?" And he's like, "Yeah, whatever. Just." So I thought that was kind of interesting. My favorite was Waterloo Worlds, which is a huge. It's almost like the level is like a tabletop sort of game for this fictional board game, and you're playing. You're trying to help this character beat his imaginary Napoleon Bonaparte, which is somehow his relative, his great grandfather or something like that. But it is really funny. I hope that you get a chance to play that level at some point. But anyway, when you return, you've actually won the game, and you're like, "Hey, man, what's wrong? We won the game." He's like, "Well, now I'm kind of bored. Like, there's nothing going on here." So, I thought that was sort of it sort of services the plot. So I thought that was cool. Right. Something they totally didn't have to do. You could have just like gone back to the world, no explanation. So
yeah, I think that's a nice little touch.
Yeah, I have to hand it to the team too, because at some point at the end game, it will fork your saves. It'll actually create a save for you that allows you to go back. But I didn't realize that I had actually gone past the point of no return and thought that I would have had to revert to an earlier save to go back and collect all the things. But they do that just intentionally. Like, okay, if you're going to collect the things, you need to go back before this point.
That's cool.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. But yeah, that's the only bummer too. I really like when games allow you to play after you've completed the story to sort of complete those things.
Yeah.
This game does not do that. You have to revert to a earlier save before you fight the boss.
Yeah, I always am pretty bummed when I realize something like that in a game. We're like you're not realizing that you're coming towards the end sequence, and then all of a sudden you're in it. You have to do it, and then credits. And now if you now you can't like load up to that point anymore.
Yeah, it's like, I guess I'll never play this again. So
all right, yeah, I guess I'm done with this.
So I think games shortly after this started giving disclaimers like, hey, just so you know, you can't actually proceed beyond this point. Yeah. I mean, what they did, I think, was a little smarter. They actually, created 2 saves for you. But and to be fair, once you've passed the point of no return, you can go back to the levels and collect things, but only in other people's minds. You can't go back to the camp and collect things there. So that's where the problem lies. So
okay.
But yeah, Waterloo World is my favorite level.
That's funny that you're mentioning that. I mean, and that I didn't know about this, but I just watched the first Bill and Ted again at my parents' house because they had never seen it, and my mom was like, "Hey, why don't we watch Bill and Ted?" I'm like, really? I mean, I would love to, but sure, let's put it on. So when they pick up Napoleon, and then he's left with Ted's little brother, and they go to the Waterloo water slide place.
Yes.
And they've got to take, anyway, it's hilarious.
It's been a long time from that movie myself. And I was, I think, pretty young when it came out, but
you were not alive, I think, when it came out.
Yeah, that's highly possible.
I think it was very shortly before you arrived. Yeah. Anyway,
I might have been thinking of the second one too. So there's that.
Yeah, Bogus Journey. The second one, that one came out 91, maybe 92, sometime. I think around then. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the first Bill and Ted came out in 89.
Well, do you have anything else you want to talk about with Psychonauts? Thanks for listening to me just sort of ramble.
Yeah, of course. I wish that I would have had more of an opportunity to play this, but personal safety was a greater need during the time that we had to play this. But yeah, I definitely think that I will continue putting some time into Psychonauts just to see what I haven't experienced yet.
And I should say I did play the original. I rented it on the PlayStation 2. I remember playing it. So I was playing like Lego Star Wars a lot, and I was playing Psychonauts a lot. I think I rented it, once or twice. But
nice.
There was I didn't beat it the first time I played it. And so, I don't think I actually completed it till I purchased it on Steam.
Gotcha.
And then, so this was the first time I 100%ed it. And there are very few games that I actually have pushed for 100%. And
Yeah, same.
this one, I'm happy has joined the 100% club, just because I love it. I love this game.
Yeah, it's a good game. I think overall it stands up in modern day.
Yeah.
Still think it's definitely worth checking out. And based off of the experience I had with the backwards compatible version, I would recommend, if anyone is going to play this, based off of, listening to this episode, though I did not play it on Steam, sounds like that's a better place to play it. But if you don't have the ability to play it on Steam, still definitely worth checking out for backwards compatibility on the Xbox One, or finding an original copy for the Xbox or PlayStation 2.
Yeah, I think you might even be able to purchase the PS2 version on the PS4. I think that is actually, I think I did come across that.
If that's a thing, then that would also, I think, be a great way to play it. Yeah, hopefully it wouldn't have any of the same bugs that I was experiencing for the backwards compatible version.
Yeah.
Which, this is the very first time that I've ever run into issues like that with any of the backwards compatible games on Xbox.
Yeah, and a lot of how these Xbox ports that did make it to PS2, it is not the perfect version out of the three. It was the one that had the longest load times and maybe ran at the slowest frame rate. But as far as a sort of unadulterated like original experience, that's probably the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, I always like checking out original versions if possible, and I was almost going to pick this up for the original Xbox, which I'm glad I didn't for this episode specifically, because I wouldn't have been able to play. But I noticed that it goes for like $50-ish or more on the Xbox. So that's also, I was like, maybe I'll just do the $9.99 version for backwards compatibility. I don't know how much it goes for on the PS2. So I don't know which version is more expensive, but
I mean,
as just throwing that out there for the folks that might want the copy for the original version.
Yeah, and I mean, originally it didn't sell a lot, so that's usually inherently they become expensive just because of the scarcity. So,
yep. But people are still selling sealed copies of the Xbox version on eBay. So, yeah. All right. Well, I think that's all I've got about Psychonauts. That all you got? Anything else we should do in 2005 before we go back?
Oh,
probably a lot, but
yeah, probably a lot. Buy some stock in Google, because I mean, actually, to be fair, they didn't actually own YouTube at this point.
No,
Google didn't launch it, so I forget about that sometimes.
Yeah, the YouTube was its own independent thing prior to Google, and I think this was a pre-iPhone world.
Yeah, it was. I think iPhone was 2006.
What a simple time. What a didn't stare at my phone for hours a day.
Oh, I did. I played Snake on my Nokia.
All right. Well, I guess let's hop back in the time machine, and we're going to be heading back to August 30th, 2020. So here we are, stepping foot. And we now have arrived back into the present day. That was a nice little time that we just had in 2005. But I guess now it's time to move on to talk about what we've been playing. To nobody's surprise, probably, I played some Overwatch. I did a lot of it on the Switch. Because like I mentioned, I was not anywhere where I had my gaming computer or Xbox or anything else plugged in. So I just had my Switch, and I tried playing in handheld mode at first quite a bit, which I mean I have done, but I don't know. It wasn't working that well for me as far as like my comfort level. So I spent a lot of time like propping it up on either the nightstand right next to the bed, or I don't know, in the guest room that I was in, there's a short kind of little cabinet that I also propped it on and then sat like with my back against the bed. I played the Switch in tabletop mode, I think, more than I ever have since I have owned my Switch, and played in a lot of rather uncomfortable positions. But I just, at the end of the night, just like, I need to play something. I needed to just, I don't know, turn my brain off, because it was a lot of I don't know, a lot of interaction, and I haven't been used to a lot of interaction. So it was, like a solid week of being with my mom and my stepdad, which again it was wonderful. It was really great seeing them. But yeah, a lot of face to face interaction. So tried to play, maybe 30 minutes or something at the end of the day, if possible. But had a really great time with Overwatch on the Switch. It 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 plays better, I think, than I remember, or it's been updated to
Yeah.
play a bit better, and it is a bit more solid. I really didn't notice that much slowdown as I was playing this time around. Not as much as like the beginning of like when it was first released on the Switch, but played a bunch of Mercy like I do, and some Brigitte. Nothing else to really say other than I had fun.
I'm not really sure if I actually played Overwatch these last couple of weeks.
What's funny is that's still in the outline from the previous episode,
that's
because
my
I was
fault.
like, well, I was like, yeah, you normally play it, and I mean, and normally, you and I have at least one occasion where we've played some Overwatch together, but that did not happen in this last couple of weeks. So, yes.
Yeah, I've been kind of just obsessed with a couple other things. So that's what kind of pulled away from my Overwatch playing, but I want to get back to it. We should soon.
Heck yeah. I'm about to finally on PC. Like right now I'm level 100. I'm about to get my promotion and get my star and go back down to level 1.
There you go. That's awesome. I am not that level. I think, still like level maybe 48 or something. So
That's all right.
yeah,
Like the levels don't mean anything. It just means that like that's basically like your playtime counter right there is what your level is. At least, that's at least how I think of it.
yeah, it's like a weighted playtime, right? So
Yeah. Like it doesn't correlate to any specific amount of time, but it just indicates like, yeah, you've played a lot or not.
yes, at varying levels of success.
Yes.
Let's see. Of course, been playing Psychonauts as well. So
No way. Me too.
version. Yeah, that was that I mean, I think it only took me like a week to play through, but that's pretty much all I played for that week, almost every day.
Yeah, I remember seeing you on Steam. You were like dedicated playing only Psychonauts, and I was like, here I thought I had time, and I was like bouncing over like all over the place playing a bunch of different things, because I was like, I got plenty of time to finish Psychonauts.
Yeah, I mean, there's fairly few games that actually can get their hooks in me, as I like to call it. And this game, it was like almost like playing it new for the first time again. I'm like, I had to get as far as I could, because I was just excited to play later levels in the game. So
yeah, nice.
I'm going to talk about one more, and we can talk about it a little bit together since we've both been playing it. But Microsoft Flight Simulator. So I played a little bit, and I just tried to do a solo journey.
Yeah.
And I flew from San Francisco to another town in like a small municipal airport.
Yeah. That's cool.
So I just I went, just to fly, but I got really frustrated with the throttle control on the controller, because
Oh.
I couldn't tell if I was actually, by the engine noise, like decelerating or accelerating some of the time, and the plane was beeping at me for seemingly no reason.
Oh, it means you were over speed.
That's kind of what I thought, but then I'd slow it down, and then, oh, it seems like I'm okay. Okay, it stopped beeping and I'm flying along, and then it's like I'm really close to the ground now. Like, this is
Ah.
bad. So I was having a lot of trouble, like, sort of controlling it. So
Yeah, I
uh
don't know. Can you lock in your throttle with a controller
so you have to hold the A or B button to
to get it to increase or decrease?
yes, you have to
Oh,
hold it.
that
um
sucks.
Yeah, that was kind of bad. And then I was also having trouble, like, getting my landing. I didn't understand how to communicate with the flight towers necessarily.
I switched that to all AI controlled. Like all of my
Okay.
flight comms, I set the settings to just have the AI deal with all of the radio stuff.
That's actually a good tip, because I'm glad we're talking about this, because after this flight and not being able to secure my runway, and them telling me I needed to get off the runway after I had successfully landed, I was like, all right, I just spent like 40 minutes doing this journey, and this was an entirely frustrating experience. So I uninstalled
Oh no.
it. Yeah, I fell off. And now, if I do get a HOTAS set up, I will revisit this game. But I just was like, I can't do this with a controller. It does not feel good.
Yeah, I haven't tried it with a controller. I have used my Logitech flight stick that I got a number of years ago. I tried using my Microsoft Sidewinder 3D Pro. Um, it's recognized by Flight Simulator 2020, but not on the button mapping screen. So I effectively can't tell it to do anything unless I was doing something wrong. Like I should go back and check it out because I definitely prefer that flight stick to the Logitech one that I have.
Uh-huh.
But it's old.
Yeah.
Like it's like late 90s old. Um, like USB was new when I got this flight stick. It's
Yeah.
that old. Um, but it's still so great. Anyway, yeah, I played quite a bit of, well, quite a bit, I don't know, a few hours, I'd say, of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. And part of the reason I played it so much is I did have like two days off from the work week. Um, in like the very like I guess right after our last recorded episode, I took like a Monday, Tuesday off. Um, and this is what I did with one of those days after having a very lovely day out. Excuse me, taking a hike the previous day. So yeah, put a decent amount of time into this. I did all of the initial like learn how to fly the Cessna um, tutorial missions. I did a few of the landing challenges that are there. Like I got an achievement for landing on like a tiny scrap of a runway, like the tiniest little runway that I had ever seen.
Wow.
Might as well have been 20 feet. I think it was like a 200-foot runway or something, or I don't know. Actually, is 200? Does that sound reasonable? Like, is that possible?
I mean, if it's a tiny scrap, I think so. You would have to almost stall your plane probably before you got there.
Like, yeah, it was anyway. And I also got to land a jumbo jet at JFK Airport as one of the challenges. Um, yeah, the things that were a little bit confusing for me at first is if you are using the joystick, you also still have to use your keyboard for
Yeah.
certain things because there aren't enough buttons, at least on the joystick that I have, to map everything. Um, and I didn't even think about deploying landing gear because when you're first flying, you're flying with a Cessna, which its landing gear is permanently out. You can't retract it or deploy it. It's just there.
Yeah.
So the first time that I tried landing the jumbo jet, I forgot about deploying my landing gear and just went belly straight down onto the runway. Like after coming up to it, like everything was perfect. Like I had everything angled right, my speed was good, and then just the screen goes black as soon as you crash, and it's like, you forgot to deploy your landing gear. And I'm like, holy crap, yeah, I did. I don't even know how to deploy my landing gear. So I have since learned how to do that, which I actually realize I have forgotten how to do because it's been over a week since I've played this now, probably at least a week and a half since I played it. But yeah, I also did the fly over my house thing. I actually ended up flying from I can't remember. I took off from a small municipal airport that's like a couple hours away, and then flew in to my city and got really close to where my house was. And it's really like, it's so cool that if you know from a map view, like where, like your general area, it's really easy to distinguish all of the, like, I guess, landmarks and things that you should be looking for if you're trying to find your own house, because it's using real map data of the earth. So yeah, I was, I don't know, I was, for the kind of plane I was in, I was really low when I was flying over my house. And then I ended up circling back and coming around and then flying down my street, like
Wow.
probably only 30 feet above the ground. But because the speed that I was going and the fact that there's like a little hill kind of at the end of my road, I smacked right into that hill because I could not pull up fast enough. Um, but yeah, it was super fun. At least, like, hey, there's my house. And I do want to try. I mean, there's still quite a few places that I just want to fly over. Like I'm probably less interested in doing a full simulation experience, like start to finish from takeoff to landing, and like more interested in just like getting up in the air to be able to look at things and just kind of do ridiculous things in the plane.
Yeah, because the flights are basically real time.
Yes, they are.
So I
It takes a
mean,
long time.
yeah, I mean, I know that they have this feature that you can, actually recreate commercial flights like that are actually happening. Like,
Yes.
like maybe if you know somebody who's on a plane, you're like, oh yeah, I flew your plane,
Yeah.
So, but you're in it for the whole time. I kind of I wonder. I'm sure some of the bigger planes have sort of an autopilot, so you could
Oh
step
yeah.
away from the
You can definitely
controls.
do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can set autopilot so that, yeah, you can get up and go to the bathroom. You can get up and probably walk away for a couple of hours. Because I think there's an achievement of like doing a real flight of like a crazy distance of like an 8-hour flight or more.
Wow.
Where, yeah, I for that it'd be just me like taking off, flying a little bit, autopilot, set a timer to come back,
Yeah.
um, and then land the plane.
Yeah, I mean, man, what if you crashed it at the end? Like, no. Yeah, hopefully
Yeah,
maybe
that
quick
would be a
save.
rough one.
That would be nice.
But yeah, so that's a really, really good looking game.
Yeah.
I noticed having it on like 4K to match my monitor's resolution. Um, I was like right at like 28 to 35 frames a second,
Yeah.
pretty much. Which I guess doesn't matter. It's such a slow game.
Yeah,
Um,
it doesn't in a way. I did notice I had this weird bug where if I what was my solution? I think if I had, there was something with the on-screen display. If that was shown on my screen and it was like in full screen mode, the game ran at like 12 frames per second for
oh,
some
weird.
reason. But if I moved it over like the instructions to my secondary monitor, I'd go straight back up to, 60 plus,
Interesting.
I was, so that was kind of a weird interesting things. So I think it was just sort of conflicting. But yeah, this game is no joke. It brings my system to its knees, and my system's 2 years old now, but it was pretty high end at that time. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, you have to kind of be very, very conservative with the settings because it's built to be a future proof title. That's the idea.
Oh yeah. Like this is like the new Crisis.
Yeah, exactly.
Even screamingly good computers right now, it'll bring them to their knees.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, played that. Let's see. Also, didn't put a ton of time into it, but I saw that it had been released. Played a little bit of Battletoads for the Xbox One. It's also on PC on Game Pass. But it's a beat 'em up. It's fun. I think it's local co-op only, so sadly you can't play online with people, but it supports up to 3 players. Which it is kind of weird that specifically for now, like everything that's going on with it being 2020, that you can't do online multiplayer, because I feel like your ability to do in-person co-op, there's some reasons that you maybe shouldn't be doing that right now.
Yeah.
So that's I think an interesting choice, but it's fun. I think the humor is great. The art in it is pretty cool. I do like the art style. It definitely reminds me of the original Battletoads and those characters. And I don't know, the general attitude is very like 90s. Reminds me a little bit of the Battletoads Double Dragon game, but it's not quite as hard as that game.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have a frame of reference. I didn't play Battletoads. I know of it though. So for sure.
Yeah, it's fun. Definitely recommend checking it out. It's on Game Pass. And then also, speaking of Game Pass, which Flight Simulator 2020 is on, also started playing Demon's Tilt Occult Pinball. It's really good. It's on Game Pass for PC and Xbox One. I ended up actually paying for it on the Switch because I wanted to be able to play it while I was away from home. And it's a great video game pinball game. Like, it's not trying to emulate a specific table like the Pinball FX games, which those are great recreations of real tables that exist. Like, this is a 3-tiered, specifically video game pinball game that kind of has some bullet hell elements to it. It self-describes itself as having like beat 'em up type elements to it, and I can kind of see that, where once you do enough damage to different like faces or characters that are in this pinball table, they get replaced by another character. And then there's different patterns of like bullets that come down from it, and all the bullets affect the way that the ball is moving. There's really cool stuff in this, and I don't play a ton of like video pinball games, but I highly recommend this. It's super cool.
Yeah, that I was just watching a trailer. It looks really cool. It's almost like the table is like a boss that you're trying to.
Yeah,
And
basically.
I like that idea because I'm not particularly interested in pinball because I don't consider myself a good pinball player.
Oh, I'm not good at pinball either, but this is fun.
I like the idea that they're completely embracing like we're not attempting to make a real pinball game like something that could exist. This is just a video game pinball game. There's another one that actually reminds me of this, and I own it, but I haven't played it yet. It's called Yoku's Island Express, which is almost like a Sonic Spinball sort of game.
Oh yes, Sonic Spinball, the game everyone loves to hate.
Yeah, and I have fond memories. I mean, I wouldn't want to play it, necessarily today, but I remember having fun with it. But it's one of those like it's a platformer, also a pinball game.
Okay.
So, it's yeah, the mechanics on how you traverse are kind of like that. I want to play that soon, and I hear it's very good. So I'm going to be checking that out. A little preview there for you.
Nice.
It was definitely one of those games I like picked up on sale, but I was like, I'll get to this at some point.
Yeah, I've definitely heard of it, but I don't know if I've ever looked into it.
I will talk a little bit about what I've been playing most of. I guess second to Psychonauts, because I played a lot of Psychonauts, but StarCraft 2. So my team, my two friends that I've been playing with. I actually have three friends that I'm playing with, but one is very occasional because he has a small child now. But
Yes,
that's
children.
okay. It's totally understandable. We do get to play with them sometimes, which we're happy about. So sorry, buddy, if you're listening. um, anyway, StarCraft 2. We were approaching the edge of Platinum League. We're Platinum 1, so we're trying to get promoted into Diamond, and there is a considerable difficulty sort of wall between Platinum and Diamond. So we're losing a lot right now. But it just makes what's weird is that we're practicing and we're getting better. So
Yeah,
it's weird. You play, the difficulty increases, and then you
yeah,
keep playing and you actually get better. What a novel concept, right?
yep,
So anyway, so that's been like really interesting to see because we can actually tangibly see how much better we're playing. But it's also fun to kind of learn new tricks. I play as Zerg. I didn't know if I mentioned that
no,
before.
I didn't.
That's my thing. I don't. I used to play as Terran when I started, but I there was a need because two of my friends play Terran and one friend plays Protoss. So I'm like, okay,
Gotcha.
there's a hole in our game here. So, and also one of the more terrifying things is actually if you go up against three races that are the same. That is usually a sign that you're about to get some really big shenanigans, as we call it. Some really big cheese is going to happen because basically they're going to take one early unit that's broken and they're probably going to make a lot of them.
Got it.
So basically it's going to be like one super player that you have to battle against. So that's it. But there are just as many weaknesses. So you have to be able to identify those weaknesses
Yeah.
and act on them. So if you go up against three Protoss, there's a pretty good chance you're going to get cannon rushed.
Oh yeah.
So, for example, and one person might just mine, and you can actually give resources to the other players
Yeah.
too, and sort of feed them, so as it's called. So yeah, it's interesting. It's occasionally pretty frustrating, but we've also had some really close games, and when the games are close, those games are so rare. I'm not even mad whether we win or lose because it was just a good
Yeah.
game.
Yeah. I mean, those are always satisfying no matter what you're playing. Like even if you lose, but you've had the ability to play a very like well matched game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's almost nothing better than that.
It's like we're always like, we're either winning by a bit, usually losing by a lot, and then some, maybe like, yeah, less than 2% of games or something are just super close. Like I remember Overwatch when we were playing that, when it's a good game, I always say, I'm like, man, I don't care that we lost. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep. I hate, well, maybe not hate. I was gonna say hate stomping the other team. It's just not that fun. And it's especially not that fun being stomped. Yeah, always love a good matchup. So let's see. Anything else about StarCraft 2 before I rattle off a couple other little things that I've played?
the campaign has been on top of my mind because I actually still
Yeah.
haven't finished it, even though
Oh,
I've owned Legacy of the Void since launch. I played it initially, but really just kind of stuck to the multiplayer. So
gotcha.
I'm going to probably play that. So that's my
Cool.
only other thought.
Right on. Let's see. I got to play a little bit of Jackbox Party Pack on the Switch when I was staying with my parents. Had them play You Don't Know Jack. the
Okay.
2015 version. And then also the four of us ended up playing Drawful, which that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that one is fun. I like most of the Jackbox games that involve drawing.
Yeah.
Though I do like the trivia too, so I'll have to check out that You Don't. I've never played You Don't Know Jack, so
What?
yeah,
Oh my God.
I own Jackbox party packs like 3, 5, and I think if there's a 6, I probably own that one
Oh
too. But
man. I've been playing You Don't Know Jack since the original You Don't Know Jack release, which I think was that DOS or did it support Windows 95? I don't know.
wow,
I can't remember. I think at least it was at least a Windows 95 thing. But yeah, man, uh, You Don't Know Jack is a very funny trivia show. Or trivia game show type thing.
mm-hmm.
You could do up to 4 players on the original Jackbox Party Pack version. I don't know if there's more in the future Jackbox releases or how many other You Don't Know Jack versions there are, but it's definitely worth checking out. It was funny too because when I brought it up, my stepdad was like, "Oh, You Don't Know Jack." He's like, "I remember this,"
Mm-hmm.
because I had him play the original one with me, and I think I had volumes 2 and 3 as well for the PC slash, Windows 95, 98 era. Um, yeah, so played a little bit of that, which was great fun. And then also some Castle Crashers remastered on the Switch. So I got that on sale, I think, quite a while back. Played a lot of Castle Crashers on the 360 back when it was new. So I thought, to change things up from Overwatch one evening, I was like, I'll play some Castle Crashers. And it's potentially more difficult than I remember. Or I don't know if there's different things about the remastered version or what. Like I don't know. There was like a month or two that I played the heck out of it with one of my roommates. And maybe that's also the difference is I'm playing it by myself and it just feels way more difficult than I remember.
Mm-hmm.
Like I keep dying. And I feel like I feel like it's like I haven't leveled up enough to be able to put enough points into something, whether it's the special, my health, my defense, like I don't know. Um, like maybe I've leveled incorrectly because I feel like I keep getting up against a wall and I just can't beat one of these early levels. Um, so it was kind of frustrating. Like I don't know what I'm doing wrong here, but I'm definitely doing something wrong.
I would probably check out maybe like a review because maybe they talk about that. And sometimes I love watching reviews for games that I'm playing because it helps me sort of validate what I'm thinking about the game, or they
Yeah.
may acknowledge, hey, this is kind of broken if you're playing by yourself or something like that. So,
Yeah, that's fair.
yeah,
Yeah, I should check that out.
yeah, I do enjoy like IGN's reviews. I just really like how they're structured too. So I watch those.
Yeah.
And I said that since I'm already talking,
Yeah.
was going to play the MMO, 2D MMO Maple Story last time, and
Yes.
I did fire it up, though I, it is an old game. It was made in Korea. I don't think the localization is super good on it. It is translated, is fully translated, but not I think necessarily in an approachable manner.
Okay.
Everything's very text heavy. My girlfriend is having a blast with it. So she's been playing a lot. She's actually met someone online that she's actually becoming friends with, and she may meet up with actually, which is kind of cool.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's like kind of one of those like people meeting their friends from the MMOs that they're playing.
Yeah.
So I think that's super cool and I'm super happy for her. But it's just I don't have the nostalgia there. So
Yeah.
and I was kind of tired when I was playing it, which is like the wrong time to try and swallow like a new MMO.
Yeah.
So I'll check it out. I was also a little bummed that the the resolutions that it supports on your PC, the 1080p mode is a beta feature.
Oh wow.
So it likes to run at like, I think, 800 by 600. It likes to be small.
Yeah.
So it's
Man, I remember when I could run things in 800 by 600, that was good.
yeah, exactly. I remember I had a Dell monitor in early 2000s that was a 800 by 600. I'm like, man, this is so much
Yeah.
better. Yeah. So, um, anyway, I don't know if I'll get back to it, but it definitely does seem interesting, and there's a lot of content there, and a mind-boggling enough of classes. Like classes are pretty standard, but I think I saw like hundreds of classes that you can select. It seemed like, well, we'll say more than 100. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know if it's for me, but I tried it.
Yeah. Well, right on. At least you tried it.
I did.
Let's see. Last thing for me that I played was part of the Nintendo Switch Online Super Nintendo collection of games, which was Star Fox. And I played through and beat Star Fox one evening in bed before going to sleep while I was, you know, out of town, like I mentioned. And I think it holds up pretty well. I mean, but to be fair, I have nostalgia for Star Fox because I remember when it first came out. And I didn't own it when it first came out, but when I was going to a babysitter, um, I played it there and played the heck out of it. So yeah, I played through it and beat it again. And I don't know. I still think it's really great. I know that it, drops down to 15 or 20 frames a second, or maybe not even drops down. That could just be what it operates at.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I still think it's really a lot of fun. I think I've also grown to appreciate flying in first person a lot more, as I've, I guess, kind of gotten used to playing games like that, where traditionally, like when I was growing up, I only ever wanted to play it in third person, even though there's at least one episode or one level that forces you into first person.
Interesting. It sounds like Star Fox made your babysitter's job very easy.
Oh yeah, like
You're
I mean,
glued to the SNES.
this is like when I went to daycare. Like I can't remember what year this came out, but I think it was shortly after this that I stopped going. But yeah, like that's how I got to play a lot of different games. Um, at least when I was, pretty young.
You know what? Your parents probably figured out that all they needed was Star Fox and a SNES, and then they didn't need to send you to daycare anymore.
I mean, pretty much.
Yeah.
I got to a certain age and I was like, "Hey, so can I just not go anymore? Like I promise I won't burn the house down cuz like a lot of the kids are really a lot younger than me. So, and like I live right across the street from our school. So, can I just let myself go to school and then come back home and I'll just stay home. I promise not to do any weird stuff with strangers."
Yeah.
So then I got to go home and just play video games by myself. Yeah. So yeah, did Star Fox, and then something that I haven't played, but the first thing that I've like pre-ordered in quite a while. I was browsing around on Steam yesterday actually, and saw that there is a new Walking Dead VR game coming out called Walking Dead Onslaught. And I know that there's already the Walking Dead Saints and Sinners that's VR, but that's more, I guess, survival horror ish. Where this, I don't know, it doesn't seem like it's gonna have breakable weapons and all of the like, I guess, survivally type elements, or maybe it will, and I just wasn't paying attention when I pre-ordered it. Anyway, it looks fun. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't really have anything else to say about it other than it looks like a fun VR zombie game, which there are a plethora of.
It looks intense. And I was looking at this, I'm like, whoa, what's the main protagonist for that new Kojima game that came out on PlayStation? What was it?
Oh yeah, Norman Reedus.
Yeah, Norman Reedus, like he's in that PlayStation game. I forgot what it was.
Yeah, Death Stranding.
Death Stranding. I was like,
Yeah.
something with delivery. No, I'm like, yeah, the Death Stranding guys in this.
Yes, Norman Reedus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you actually play as Daryl, who is Norman Reedus's character in The Walking
Yeah.
Dead.
I see basically I didn't watch Walking Dead, so seeing Norman Reedus in digital form is actually more familiar to me than the actual character,
Oh, that's
which
too
is
funny.
it's a weird thing. So
But yeah, so I'm excited. That'll hopefully be fun. That'll be something coming out September 29th. Oh my God. So actually that's just I think a week before, if even a week before the Star Wars Squadrons game comes out. So it looks
wow.
like end of September, early October is going to be a good time for VR owners.
Yeah, I was also I wanted to experience Tetris Effect in VR too, but I was looking up. I'm like, I don't know if that one's on PC or if it supports
So
VR.
it's on PC, but it's only on the Epic Store.
Uh-huh.
And I think that it supports VR for the PC version.
I would, I
Um,
wouldn't be surprised if it was a Resident Evil 7 situation where it only supports PSVR, but not um, actual VR. So,
yeah, I hope that's not the case. And actually speaking of like Tetris Effect, there's going to be a new version with a much wider release coming out soon.
ooh,
I can't remember the difference in the name or all of the platforms, but I know that it is coming to Xbox. So I hope that it's coming to something like Steam, and I hope that it also has VR support. Because Tetris Effect, it's it's a beautiful game. It's incredibly well done. Um, it's one of the biggest reasons why I have continued to pull out my PS4 on a semi-regular basis. I mean, other than like playing Persona, which I still want to get back to. Um, but yeah, it's a great game. Like I play it with my partner. She's fantastic at Tetris. Like she's so much better than I am.
mm.
Um, she doesn't really play games, but she plays that and does it very well.
It looks like that's awesome. First off, I gotta say, but the connected version that's coming out, it's launching as on Xbox One, but it's also going to be a smart delivery title.
Okay,
Which
nice.
is cool. And it almost it seems like they're going to be releasing on the Windows Store, which almost I think does smart delivery include Windows to store devices? I don't know.
Um, well, I feel like Windows versions it makes it not necessary for smart delivery.
Well, if I was thinking if you purchased on Xbox One, could you play it on PC as well?
Oh, like play anywhere.
Yeah,
Maybe. I don't know.
yeah,
I
yeah.
would like that. I think that'd be awesome.
I'll Google it anyway.
Yeah. That's everything I've been playing. That's everything that I'm thinking about playing. With the exception of what our next episode's focus is going to be. Is there anything else you want to get off your chest before we get into that and then our outro?
I'm too excited. I need to know what we're playing next.
Okay. Well, for the next episode, we are going to be focusing on Star Fox 64. So a little bit of spoilers as I was talking about Star Fox, the SNES version, but I think playing that's actually what led me to want to play 64 again. Though I love the first game, I definitely think 64 is a better game. And I haven't played it in a while, so I'm looking forward to playing through that again. I think I will be trying to play it on my Nintendo 64, but there's also the 3DS version that was released, which has the original Nintendo 64 version on it. I still think it's newer, like visual assets.
Mm.
Um, but the mode is the same. And then there's also the 3DS version. And if the only way that people can play is on the 3DS, that is a great way to be able to play the game. But I can't wait to throw it in my N64 with my Rumble Pack ready to go, and play some Star Fox 64.
Yeah, I'm excited. This game means a lot to me. I think when in the early days of the N64, it was kind of like my favorite game.
Yeah, it's a great game.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we'll be talking about in a couple of weeks. For you listeners out there, thank you so much for listening to the show. You can subscribe to this podcast on Anchor, Spotify, Overcast, Breaker, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Radio Public. There might even be something that I don't even know that it's on. And if so, let me know. Yeah, why don't you come on and join us next time, where we're going to talk about video games and I'm sure whatever else we've been doing. So bye for now.
Catch you next time.